Okay, now let's talk about the Cloud HSM Cloud Hardware Security module. And the best way to start is to talk about KMS. So when you have KMS, AWS manages the software for the encryption and decryption keys. But with the Cloud HSM, AWS will only provision as the encryption hardware. It's going to be dedicated hardware. And HSM stands here for the Hardware Security module. Hence the name Cloud HSM. And your responsibility is going to manage your own encryption keys entirely. It's not going to be the responsibility of the AWS anymore. The idea is that you are entirely responsible for the security, the maintenance, and the backup of these encryption keys, not AWS. So the HSM device is going to be tamper resistant if it has some kind of compliance. It has some kind of the compliance, and so that means that if anyone outside of the list tries to open up your HSM device, there is going to be a flip and it's going to be seen. So it supports both symmetric and asymmetric encryption, which is really helpful if you want to do something called like the TLS or SSL offloading, and there is no free tier available with the Cloud HSM. So for you to use Cloud HSM, you need to use the Cloud HSM client software. It's not something that is done through the API calls, and you have some integration with the Cloud HSM. For example, with Redshift that support Cloud HSM for database encryption and key management. So in case you want to use SSEC type of encryption, customer managed type of encryption for your S3 objects, which is when you provide your own encryption key to S3, and then there will be a server side encryption happening. So then a good way to generate the encryption key would be to use Cloud HSM. It's a very common pattern would be in that case. So let's say have a look at the diagram. AWS will manage the hardware for us, but then we will be provided with a Cloud HSM device and it's dedicated to us, and then that's AWS does for us. So if we lose the encryption keys, if we lose anything AWS account, AWS cannot recover the device for us. It's really your own responsibility, so use with the caution. And to manage these keys and everything, you need to have a Cloud HSM clients which will access your Cloud HSM device, and you manage your keys. They will have encrypted connections because your Cloud HSM client and your Cloud HSM device, of course, to encrypt and share secured information. But it's your responsibility to manage everything within your device. AWS cannot help you once it has provided you with the hardware you need. In terms of IAM permissions, therefore, the only thing AWS can do in terms of IAM is helping you create, describe, and delete your Cloud HSM cluster. But anything within your Cloud HSM cluster, it's your own responsibility. So using the Cloud HSM software, you can manage the keys. That means create, read, and update, delete keys, and also manage the users that have access to these keys. It's very similar to say like a database where AWS will give you the database itself, and you have to manage the users within it. It's not exactly the case, not exactly similar as Cloud HSM, but you will get the idea of similar situation. You have to manage all the security within your device, and AWS cannot help you here with that. Okay. Another thing, very important thing, is to set up a Cloud HSM with high availability. So, and for this, you need to create a Cloud HSM cluster that will be spread across multiple availability zone. It's going to be great to enhance one more time the availability, but also the durability of your data. So we have this very classic architecture where we have two availability zone AZ, two Cloud HSM devices that are going to be paired up in a cluster, and your Cloud HSM client. And the idea here is that we lose one AZ, we'll still have the access to the second AZ, and our data is safe. So highly available and durable, but important to see. It wants to know that it's possible to do it going to the exam. It can be very handy for such of the solution architecture. Okay, finally, just to solidify your knowledge on Cloud HSM versus KMS. So, but I think you will know the very important part is that the tendency is that tendency is that the KMS is shared with CloudHSM for your own device. The keys for the KMS are managed by AWS, but for CloudHSM, you manage your own keys in terms of encryption. In terms of encryption, here I that is a tenancy. So the KMS is shared with the CloudHSM for your own device. The keys for the KMS are managed by AWS, but for the CloudHSM, you manage the keys, manage your own keys. In terms of encryption, CloudHSM can do encryption on top of symmetric, asymmetric encryption on top of symmetric encryption. So you can have SSL and TLS acceleration and Oracle TDE acceleration with CloudHSM, whereas the KMS has none of that. And then if you wanted to provide access to CloudHSM into other accounts, other regions, and so on, so you would need to create multiple VPC and create VPC pairing connection between your HSM Cloud HSM and within your VPC, so that the other CloudHSM clients can access your own CloudHSM cluster in your own accounts. So okay, well, so you can see a little more this comparison between the AWS KMS and the CloudHSM to have a final view on the differences between them and have a get understanding of those of the services resources. And this is for this lecture, and I hope that was helpful, and I will see you in the next lecture.